Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 17, 2012 meeting of the Downers Grove Village Council. It is my privilege and honor to call this meeting to order. There are agendas of our meeting on both sides of the room. If you'd like to pick one up and follow along tonight, there will be multiple opportunities for public comment, including a segment known as public comments of a general nature, and also opportunities to ask questions about items that will be on our agenda tonight on specific items. It is customary that we begin our meetings by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, so at this point in the day, I would like to ask that you all rise and please join us in reciting the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, and please silence those cell phones and pagers. Thank you very much. I'd now like to ask our fine village clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Rankin? Here. Commissioner Barnett?
Here.
Commissioner Newstead?
Here.
Commissioner Durkin?
Here.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Here.
Commissioner Schnell? Here. Mayor Tully?
Here. Thank you very much, April. The next item on our agenda has to do with minutes of prior council meetings, and we have one set of minutes from our April 10th, 2012 regular meeting to approve. Are there any questions, comments, changes, corrections, concerns from any members of the council? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve those minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those minutes are adopted as presented. I'd like to pause in the proceedings to address two different proclamations that we have tonight. First one has to do with Arbor Day, and I just want to note that I think I mentioned this a week or two ago, that the Village of Downers Grove has once again, for the 475th time, been named as Tree City, USA. Actually, I think it's much less than that, but so this comes in very handy with Arbor Day. And actually, if you're really into Arbor Day, I think there's a 10K race, Commissioner Rankin, on Sunday at the Morton Arboretum. Good way to get some exercise and celebrate Arbor Day. At any rate, this is a proclamation in honor of Arbor Day. Whereas the last Friday in April has been designated as Arbor Day to encourage the planting of trees and their protection from insects and diseases that destroy their beauty and usefulness. And whereas trees add much to our community by providing beauty, helping reduce heating and cooling bills, increasing property values, enhancing the economic vitality of business areas, and improving the quality of life for years to come. Sounds like trees would fit right in with our strategic plan, wouldn't it? Whereas the Village of Downers Grove has received national recognition for the 28th year, okay, there you go, the 28th year for its tree care program by being named, again, a Tree City, USA. Now, therefore, I, Martin T. Tully, Mayor of the Village of Downers Grove, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 27th, to be Arbor Day in the Village of Downers Grove and urge all residents to care for their trees. And if you want, you even have special permission to hug them. Dated the 17th day of April 2012 at Downers Grove, Illinois. Second proclamation has to do with celebrating an event called Comcast Cares Day, which will be taking place, I believe, this Saturday. Whereas Comcast remains an active, committed, and engaged member of the Village of Downers Grove, as demonstrated by 11 years of Comcast Cares service in local communities and well over 2.1 million total number of hours of service at approximately 3,500 project sites in local communities. Whereas Comcast supports the core American value of volunteerism through partnerships, grants, and volunteer activities that empower individuals and organized communities alike. And whereas Comcast Cares Day is a celebration of service and is one of the largest national days of service that brings employees, families, friends, and community partners together for a common purpose and mission. And whereas Comcast Cares Day promotes a spirit of corporate responsibility thanks to the hard work, dedication, and service of Comcast volunteers in the Village of Downers Grove. Now, therefore, I, Martin T. Tully, Mayor of the Village of Downers Grove, do hereby proclaim April 21st as Comcast Cares Day in the Village of Downers Grove. And Mr. Kozlowski, I think this Saturday is the Comcast Cares event will be taking place?
That is correct, Mayor Tully, at Family Shelter Service here in Downers Grove.
And I know that we have a very special coffee with the council that morning, but I know that Tony Cigarella has requested and encouraged any of us who can join the event over at Family Shelter Service in support of Comcast Cares Day after coffee with the council. That would be greatly appreciated. So I know it's a busy day, but to the extent you can fit in a couple things, that would probably be most appreciated. Those are all the proclamations that I have. So now it's when I get to stop talking, and it's a chance for you to talk, because now we're at item 4 on our agenda, which is a segment for public comments with respect to matters not appearing on tonight's agenda. So if there are any questions or comments of a general nature, not with respect to items appearing on our agenda tonight, this would be the time to please come down. And the custom is that you give your name and address, and we'd love to hear from you. And I see we have a strapping, eager man ready to share a comment with us right now. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Tully and Commissioners. Michael Casa, President of the Downers Grove Economic Development Corporation, 2001 Butterfield Road, Suite 120, here in Downers Grove. As you know, I try to use these opportunities to announce new businesses coming to our community, and I'd like to do that tonight. This past fall, I was contacted by a real estate company called Midland Equities regarding a client of theirs called Painters USA, headquartered in Wheaton. They were looking for 10,000 square feet of additional space outside of their headquarters, in which to use primarily for a warehouse, staging, and other warehouse-type needs. They have signed a lease to locate at 1415 Center Circle in Downers Grove. That's in the business park that's located behind where Best Buy and Toys R Us is. They will be opening later this year. It's, again, 10,000 square feet. They'll be creating 50 new jobs, and we're very happy to have them in our community. They're a commercial, industrial, and residential painting firm, remodeling contractors, and they specialize in interior and exterior painting and concrete crack repair. And so I believe the Chamber's going to be planning a ribbon cutting and to welcome them to our community. Secondly, you may have seen in today's Chicago Tribune and also in Cranes that the state of Illinois announced that a Virginia company called Lafarge North America is going to be moving its headquarters from Virginia to Illinois. The state is providing a $6.3 million incentive package. This was announced by Governor Quinn this morning, and they have indicated an interest in locating their corporate headquarters in the I-294, I-88 area. So as you can imagine, the chase is on, and I had the pleasure this morning of speaking to the site consulting firm that's going to be handling the search. So we'll do everything we can to get that project, that corporate headquarters here in Downers Grove. And finally, later on the agenda today, you'll be hearing from our friends at Midwestern University and Dr. Geppinger with some very, very exciting news, which I'll leave to them. So thank you very much, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Michael. Any questions for Mr. Casa in the economic development sphere? Terrific.
Thank you.
We always like good news, so thank you for sharing that. Any other questions or comments of a general nature with respect to matters not appearing on our agenda tonight? Hearing none, we will move on to item 5, public hearings. We have no public hearings tonight, so we'll zip right along to our consent agenda. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments from any members of the audience with respect to any of the numerous items on tonight's consent agenda? Any questions or comments from any members of the Village Council with respect to any of the items on the consent agenda tonight? Hearing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Schnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Commissioner Newstead?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye, the consent agenda passes unanimously. That brings us to item 7 on our agenda tonight, which is our active agenda. These are items that we will be voting on tonight, and we have 4 of them. First item is item 7A. Do I have a motion to authorize an amended employment agreement and bonus for the village manager?
Mayor Tully, I move to authorize an amended employment agreement and a $5,000 bonus for performance in 2011 for Village Manager David Fielman.
Second.
Any questions or comments from any members of the audience with respect to this item? I see we have some. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Tully, Commissioners, staff. I'm Gordon Goodman. I live at 5834 Middaw, and I wanted to say that I'm pleased to see the village making a strong effort to retain key village staff, such as the village attorney and the village manager, and support this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Goodman. Any other questions or comments from the audience on this item? Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Bill Roble. I live at 7800 Queens Court in Downers Grove. just about a year ago, in April, when Mayor Sandak, Senator Sandak, wearing both hats, presented a similar motion to offer a $10,000 bonus to the village manager as his parting kiss to the village. He gave the taxpayers the opportunity to present a $10,000 bonus, $5,000 which was paid in the spring and $5,000 which was paid in the fall. And I took issue with it at that time that it was kind of interesting, that it was the timing and so forth with the budgetary constraints and so forth. And consequently, I'd be remiss if I didn't comment about the motion that's before us right now. I think it's kind of strange that the timing is exactly the same. This time it talks about an employment agreement and the bonus, and I would like you to share with the public, myself included, since it hasn't been workshopped publicly. I think it was probably online or something like that. Just the extent of the raise, what the new contract entails, and why the $5,000 bonus. Could you please share it with us this evening?
Sure. Well, I suspect there may be some questions or comments up here. I don't know. But first of all, there's nothing strange about the timing because performance reviews are often done annually, so it's not a big surprise that it's 1 year later. And the rest of it is got to do with a variety of factors. It'd be very simple. It's the market, competitive environment, and that weighs in heavily into it. And then also performance, as stated in the motion. The contract amendment is merely to extend the severance that is provided for in the contract from where it currently is at 9 months to 12 months, which is more customary.
Can you share with us the dollar amount you're talking about?
The dollar amount for?
The raise and the bonus?
Look and see if it's actually in the motion here. Yeah, I don't see why not.
No, absolutely. Actually, Mayor Tully, if you don't mind, the severance actually only increases by 3 months to 9 months. It was originally at 6 months, so it's gone up to 9 months, and the salary increases to $160,000.
Say that again?
I misspoke.
$160,000.
I misspoke. It was a 3-month extension.
Is that the increase, or what's the absolute?
The increase is $15,000.
And how much is the bonus?
$5,000.
$5,000.
Okay.
No, it's an increase in base from 145 to 160.
Okay.
It's a one-time bonus of $5,000 to reflect performance. And then, as was mentioned, the severance period is extended by 3 months.
Well,
I thought it was from 9 to 12, but you're right. It's from 6 to 9.
Well,
It's
I have
actually
an
less
additional,
than customary.
I have additional comment based upon that.
Sure.
I think it was the meeting of the 3rd of April, the attorney received an increase, and now the village manager. And if I understand correctly, the council is the only person that can give both these people, the manager and the attorney, an increase. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then, in turn, the manager would be responsible for addressing any increases to the village employees per se.
That's always been the case.
Okay. Well, I've been to budget meetings, and we worked very hard, and the village manager worked hard, and the staff's worked hard to keep the cost of the human resources down during this tough time for the village. And it was revealed at that time it was 80% of the village tax monies go towards employment and employees with their salaries and benefits and so forth. So I'm just asking you to take consideration. This is a big step you're taking today, because by giving the village manager an increase, he in turn, with good conscience, would be responsible to address increases for the entire village staff, public works, whatever departments. I think you understand that. That they would be expecting a similar.
I disagree with that. It's on a person-by-person basis. I don't think you can do it sweepingly across.
Well,
the board.
how can you give a the management raises without giving the bargaining unit raises and so forth, which seems to be frustrating the cause of keeping cost, our biggest expense in the village at a manageable level.
Well, first of all, no question that that's a very important issue, and I think it's one that,
That's my concern.
well, it's all of our,
Are we opening Pandora's box, you know?
I don't think so. I think we're responsibly managing the village finances, and we're fairly treating our staff.
I hope so. But
I do too, because as you noted, they have been
And-
working very hard to
Well,
maintain our fiscal.
So is everybody else in the country, trying to make the best they can.
No
Wage
question about
increase
it.
or no wage increase. And I'm just trying to emphasize the fact that I think we're setting a precedent. And I understand you want to be competitive and so forth, but if you haven't got the money, you have to, like in my household, I like to be competitive with my neighbor and have lawn service and so forth, but if I can't afford it, I don't have it.
Well, and in all fairness, Mr. Roble, the last few years, that's exactly what happened.
I know, we've been biting the bullet. We're at a very, how'd you call it, desirable plateau, and I'm afraid we're going to jump off of it and back into like I wrote down for myself to say, I get the sense of feeling that the village council is feeling that the storm is over and happy days are here again. So spend that, take the taxpayer's checkbook and right away.
I would not agree with that characterization.
Well,
And I
I'm
think-
just expressing my thoughts.
Well, and obviously, I appreciate that, but I think a sober and purposeful review of the actions of this council and prior councils over the last several years in conjunction with the long-range financial plan would set your concerns to rest.
I just wanted to bring my concerns to you, that's all. If you're
Always
comfortable
welcome.
with that, I'm just
Always
gonna,
welcome.
we're gonna watch the process as it unfolds.
Of course, we
Thank
haven't
you.
even voted on it yet. So. But thank you for sharing your views, and the questions are, of course, most legitimate. And it's always good to see you. Good evening.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I believe the firemen just got a 3% raise, is that right?
Well, the firefighters negotiated a new
Yeah.
contract, yes.
Well, can't we hold our manager to that amount?
We could do a lot of things, Mr. Bailey.
Well, and I think it's excessive, what you guys are doing. And I think you're like all of the other groups here, the park board, the school boards. You know, these people are raising the salaries of these individuals, the leaders, so much that it's embarrassing. I don't know, just recently, I heard one of the guys in the education was making $400,000. You know, and I think that is outrageous. Thank you.
For the record, I don't believe there's anyone making anywhere near that in this organization.
Well, no, but we'll get up to be that pretty soon.
Thank you, Mr. Falish. Any other questions or comments from the audience with respect to this item? Thank you. Any questions or comments from members of the village council with respect to this item? Commissioner Barnett?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to, we're about to take a vote here, and I thought I'd take a couple minutes to explain mine. I suspect this will go forward. I am not planning to vote for this tonight. And it's tough to follow some of those comments because I believe that our village manager has done a fantastic job. And frankly, all of our taxpayers, these folks that are possibly thinking this is out of line, are really the benefactors of that. The savings instituted by a manager who was challenged to perform and did are in the millions and millions of dollars over the last few years. And that is something to be rewarded. I think it's being rewarded in a different manner than I personally would choose. As some may recall from previous discussions about things like contracts, I prefer something more similar to what we had been doing with the manager, which was kind of a pay after performance as opposed to pay for performance. And for that reason, I'm intending to vote nay tonight. I think the circumstances were different than the attorney's situation a couple weeks ago. And so I just wanted to make that clear to everybody that my vote tonight is not a criticism of our manager, nor is it a criticism of the level at which the market compensates such folks. The work done on behalf of the village by him and his team has been outstanding. But I have a philosophical problem with the method by which we're doing this.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other questions or comments from members of the council? Well, I just want to add that it is unquestioned that one thing that this council, regardless of how they may cast their votes, has been unanimous on, is that is in their appreciation for the extremely high performance level which our village manager has been operating, not just the last 12 months, but for quite some time. And we don't thank him enough for the work that he does for this community and for this organization. And we shouldn't only do it once a year. I'm going to do it now because he's got the spotlight on him, whether he likes it or not, but he does. And I think for myself, as both the mayor and as a resident, thank you for all the hard work, because as Commissioner Barnett mentioned, we all of us, this community, are the benefactors of that. Different people can have different ways of getting to the same place, but I think, again, you're going to find no difference of opinion in terms of the appreciation for the outstanding efforts and achievements that our village manager has accomplished on behalf of this community, and we're fortunate to have him in the position that he's in. That's my opinion. Other people obviously will express and can express their own opinion. I mean, it's very simple. There is a market. You look at the market. This is not by any stretch of the imagination excessive in terms of the market. And there is also a component here that is a one-time reflection of the appreciation that I just described. And then we also have the extension of the severance by 3 months. Technically speaking, that extension doesn't cost anyone anything, because it only comes into play in circumstances that we all hope to avoid. So I think this is a very fair expression of a reward and recognition for our village manager. I think it is fair by any measure, and I will be supporting it. I agree that there are certainly other ways that one could arrive at the same place. Everybody has their preference, but I don't think there's any question this is the right place to be. Any other questions or comments from any members of the council? Commissioner Rankin?
I just wanted to point out, too, that last year, the combination of Manager Fieldman's salary and bonus, this is a little less than 7% of an increase. When you look at the big number, it seems overwhelming, but it really isn't excessive. And our goal is to get him up to a point where he's with making a similar salary that people that have the same experience as him in other municipalities. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Chanel.
I've had the honor of working with, I think, 5 or 6 village managers over my time up here. And I must say that David Fieldman ranks among the top of those managers that I've had the honor to work with. This is a gentleman who works extremely diligently for the village of Downers Grove. As Commissioner Barnett said, he has literally, with his staff, found millions of dollars in savings for us. From my perspective, one of the things that I really wanted to see was the reputation of the village to go up several levels, so that was recognized once again in DuPage County and in the country as a place of innovation and a place where people really wanted to work and would attract the best and the brightest of employees. And I think Dave has done that. He's assembled a management team who is second to none in any other city in the country. And a lot of that is because of Dave's leadership and his ability to inspire in his employees a loyalty to this village. That kind of loyalty, that kind of dedication, and that work ethic needs to be rewarded. Dave is still not at even the mid-level of other managers in DuPage County. We hired him because we thought he had the skill sets to become a great manager. He is well on his way towards that goal, and he needs to be rewarded with like peers within DuPage County itself. I will be supporting this mainly because I think Dave has become one heck of a manager, and I think we're all lucky to have him here.
Thank you, Commissioner. With that, roll call, please.
Commissioner Schnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Nay.
Commissioner Newstead?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Nay.
Mayor Tully?
Aye. The matter passes 5-2. That brings us to item 7B as in boy on our agenda. Do I have a motion to approve an ordinance providing for the issuance of general obligation bonds for road and water system improvements as presented?
Mayor Tully, a motion to adopt an ordinance providing the issuance of general obligation bonds, Series 2012, of the Village of Downers Grove, DuPage County, Illinois, and providing for the levy and collection of a direct annual tax for the payment of the principal of and interest on said bonds and approval of cost of issuance as presented.
Second.
Any questions or comments from any members of the audience with respect to this item? Any questions or comments from any members of the council? Commissioner Durkin?
No, Bill.
Sorry. Commissioner Walden? I did the old head fake there.
I defer.
No surprise over my comments over the last few weeks. I guess we cannot separate the 10 million from the 25 million, from what I understand. Is that correct?
The council can take either action. They can approve both bond issuances, $25 million for roads, $10 million for water system, or as the long-range financial plan calls for, the $35 million combination.
I have stated repeatedly that I would support a $10 million bond that's associated with the water fund. However, I think the $25 million issuance is too much interest. If anybody's interested in my comments, I suggest they look at or listen to the comments from last week. I won't repeat those. We do have a good bond rating, and that doesn't mean you go run out and borrow a lot of money. It's kind of like having a credit card and you get your bill in the mail and it says, your credit limit is. So a good bond rating is like getting that little note that says you have a good, good credit limit. And it doesn't mean it's a good idea to go out and borrow that money. And I think where a lot of different countries, including ours, are trying to cut back, our state should be trying to cut back on debt. I think residents, it's reported, citizens are trying to cut back on their credit card debt, and I just think that spending that kind of money on interest is not the way to go. So I cannot support a $25 million interest or bond. I would ask my fellow council members if they could support me in separating these out so I could approve the $10 million portion and allow me to vote nay on the 25. If I need to make a motion myself, I will, but I'd like some indication from my fellow council members if they would support a separation of the two bonds.
Manager Fieldman.
I know the council's been informed of the good news we received today, but I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce, if it's okay with you, Mayor Tully, Alan Ambrose and Chris Shee from Northern Trust, our financial advisor. Mr. Shee has some information, really some great news about the results that may aid in the discussion, if you'd like.
Sure, and while he's making his way up here, I don't know if Commissioner Durkin wanted to ask his question now or...
I will defer to our financial advisor. I'll let him have the thunder.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Commissioners. Good evening, staff.
Good evening.
We did a $35 million competitive bid process today. We received 7 bids, which is a good number. The winning bid was Bank of America Merrill Lynch. The all-in true interest cost was 3.38%. The cover bid, the next highest bid or next bid was Hutchinson Shockey at 3.45%. So a difference of about 7 basis points. So a good wide cover there. The rest of the bids were very close to that cover bid from Hutchinson Shockey. So we feel this is a very strong bid for the village, and we got a very good all-in cost for the village as well.
Terrific rates.
Outstanding rates.
I'll talk to you soon. I get that personally. 3.1?
3.38.
I get stuff in the mail for 0 all the time.
Yeah, but that usually comes with
always does
67% interest in a guy named brings a baseball bat with him to collect. Any questions for our financial advisor, as long as...
No, I just wanted to, echo what Chris had said. I mean, I think with today's bond market and today's environment, these rates are outstanding. And I think a lot of this, the ability for us to get these kind of rates is really because of the commitment this council, this village, and this community has put forward in our long-range financial plan. And I know we all sound like broken records when we constantly point out our long-range financial plan, but it's that element, that tool that has allowed us to get these rates. Because if you do an analysis, I'm sure there's a lot of communities similar size to us, maybe a different rating by Standard & Poor's. But, if they don't have that commitment that we have had and demonstrated with the long-range financial plan, you'll be paying a lot more in the interest rate itself. So I just want to thank Northern for all the hard work they do and staff's commitment and our commitment to get us to this point, because it'll be interesting to see once this economy changes in, 5-10 years where bond rates are going to be at. And to be able to look back, and I can pretty much predict that these probably won't be bond rates in 10 years, we'll be refinancing, so, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other questions or comments from members of the Village Council? Commissioner Newstead.
Just to add to Commissioner Durkin's comments, I think it's important to note that Northern Trust has been our bond counsel and our bond financial advisor for many years, and working with our staff and our management team, they've found different ways to get to a competitive bid pricing for us, either with a static bid or a flexible kind of arrangement, and those two ways have allowed us to really get some good deals and some good percentage points. So I appreciate the hard work from not only Northern, but also from our own finance staff and Judy Butney and her team, as well as the manager and others. So I'll be in support of this tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other questions or comments from the council? Just a couple things. Obviously, we're not just borrowing $35 million because we can, or we have a good bond rating. This is for much-needed street and water infrastructure improvements. Road construction, $25 million for that purpose. I don't think you can find a resident in this town that doesn't think that we need to invest some money in our roads. So we're doing exactly that. We could do it over a much longer period of time, or we could do it over a shorter period of time at these very favorable rates. This is the decision that we've decided to make, and it's been done as part of a long-range financial plan, not because we opened up an offering for 0% interest. That's just not an accurate description of how we got here. That's not to say that people don't have different views on how to go about it, and everyone is entitled to their opinion, but I don't want it to be suggested this was just some sort of knee-jerk, let's borrow $35 million because we can type of situation. This is the product of a very long and very purposeful and very careful planning process that has paid dividends in a very attractive structure that is being presented here tonight and some outstanding rates. And as Commissioner Durkin said, we wouldn't have gotten those rates if it wasn't for the outstanding work of our staff in keeping and maintaining a AA+ rating from Standard & Poor's. Now, the only thing that would improve our bond rating is if we were located in Iowa instead of Illinois, but there's not a whole lot we can do about that. But in terms of what we can control, this organization is doing a pretty bang-up job of keeping us in the most favorable financial situation as we possibly can be in order to take advantage of these types of opportunities to get some much-needed investment in our infrastructure, which every single resident calls for, screams for, constantly. And that's exactly what our obligation is to do, is to maintain our infrastructure, our roads, our water, and that's what we've set about to do, and that's what we're doing. So that's the reason why this is happening, not just because we can. So I'm in full support of this, and this is, I don't want to say the final step, but another step down a path that has been charted for some time.
And just one final note, Mayor, the village attorney reminds me that we're working with ordinances and extract of minutes that were prepared specially for this bond issuance pursuant to state laws, and they are written and packaged as such as it's one bond issuance. So I answered correctly to Commissioner Waldeck. However, as far as the motion being set tonight, we prefer that it be done in such a manner to keep the Constitution of how this is drafted already.
Well, I always support the Constitution.
Yeah.
So I guess, look, I don't know if that answers your question, Commissioner Waldeck. I understand your point.
Yeah.
I think for the record, everyone understands what you would like to do, but I think the way it's been packaged.
The point made, and I made my points last week. So.
Yes, I think the record will reflect your views, and if that's okay. It's not that I think if we could do it without creating any problems for our legal or financial advisor staff, then I would be fine with it.
Understood.
But I think your point is well taken, and you've made it quite succinctly.
For weeks.
Commissioner Barnett.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to reiterate, I don't know if it's been said this evening, it certainly has been said numerous times over the course of these discussions, but these this new debt is to be serviced by existing revenue streams. That's a pretty important aspect. It is not a take out a new debt and then hope to find some way to raise taxes or raise fees down the road to pay for it. This is serviced by existing revenue streams. That is, again, part of that long-range financial planning, but it's an important distinction as compared to what you may be thinking about or looking at in your own personal home life situation. This is debt that, as the mayor said, is much needed, but it is not going to cause us to find new ways to generate revenue to service it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions or comments on the bond issuance? Then may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Neustadt?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Nay.
Commissioner Schnell?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye. The matter passes 6-1. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you. That brings us to item 7C, as in Charlie, on our agenda tonight. So I have a motion to approve a bid awarding $1 million in change to John Neary Construction Company of Addison, Illinois for 2012 water main improvements. There we go. There's those infrastructure investments.
Probably shouldn't say so moved on change. Mayor, I move to award a contract for $1,062,737.50 to John Neary Construction Company, Inc. for the 2012 water main improvements.
Second.
Any questions or comments on this item from any members of the audience? Any questions or comments from any members of the Village Council? Hearing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Commissioner Neustadt?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner Schnell?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye, that matter passes unanimously. It brings us to item 7D as in David on our agenda. Do I have a motion to award a contract for $2 million in change to Central Blacktop Company Incorporated of LaGrange, Illinois for the 2012 resurfacing project?
Mayor Tully, I move to award a contract for $2,071,188.10 to Central Blacktop Company, Inc. for the 2012 resurfacing A project.
Second.
Any questions or comments from any members of the audience with respect to the 2012 resurfacing A project? Any questions or comments from members of the Village Council? I'll just point out, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Commissioner, I didn't see your hand.
I gotta realize when you're looking left and right here, catch at the right time. Just a quick comment, though. Although I did vote against the bond issuance, now that it appears that it will go through, we have an obligation to spend that money appropriately, from what I understand. Is that correct, Village Manager?
That's
Yes.
correct.
So it's not like I'm willing to spend all this money, and vote against the bonds. It's just that now that we have an obligation, to use it for the reason why we decided to borrow it. So I hope I straightened myself out there. Thank you.
I understood you completely. Other questions or comments from the council? Other than I'm glad, I appreciated the suggestion to order these items in the way we just did, because first the money and now the investment
Right.
in two items. One, $1 million and change in water main improvements, and now over $2 million in those road resurfacing projects. So it's good to see it lined up this way. So in the same conversation, actually almost in the same breath, residents are seeing the money coming in, and it's actually being turned around, and we're now talking about contracts that are reinvested in exactly the way that we said we would. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Neustadt?
Aye.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner Schnell?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye, the matter passes unanimously. It brings us to item 7E as in Edward. Do I have a motion to amend the Community Events Commission recommendation regarding facilitation model for community events? Someone can explain what that means.
Mayor Tully, I move to amend the Community Events Commission recommendation regarding the facilitation model for community events adopted September 7, 2010, to exempt celebratory, ceremonial, and non-fundraising events operated by federally chartered or accredited veterans organizations from fees for village services in support of those events as presented.
Second.
Notice we stuck the newcomer with having to read that one. Any questions or comments from any members of the audience with respect to this item? Questions or comments from members of the Village Council with respect to this item? Commissioner Waldeck.
Thank you, Mayor. Last week I commented on my concerns about the fairness of our events policy, And while I favored granting a waiver to the Legion for the Memorial Day Parade, I indicated that we should have this policy removed. And as is frequently, my comments may often cause those watching at home to head to the refrigerator, or some in chambers to decide to roll their eyes or surf the web. But I would ask you that tonight you forego those activities, as I point out.
My hand's off the mouse, just for the record.
I'd ask you to forego those activities, as I point out to everyone, at least up here, at least one time or more, has sworn an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States, and this is not to be taken lightly. The Constitution has First Amendment rights and guarantees free speech. With a bit of research, I was able to find some very appropriate cases and legal opinions that I have a bearing on how we conduct our community events facilitation model in relation to the issue before us. And the question is, can we modify our policy as stated in option 2, which is the motion presented tonight? One case of interest is Forsyth County, Georgia versus Nationalist Movement. I won't go into the facts of the case or brief it as a lawyer might for the council, but I will present relevant facts and comments that have a bearing on what's before us. In that case, the petitioner county's ordinance mandated permits for private demonstrations and other uses of public property, declared that the cost of protecting participants in such activities exceeds the usual and normal cost of law enforcement and should be borne by the participants, required every permit applicant to pay a fee of not more than $1,000, and empowered the county administrator to adjust the fee's amount to meet the expense incident to the ordinance's administration and to the maintenance of the public order. The respondent in this case brought the cases of a violation of the First and 14th Amendment. The court, the Supreme Court, found in order to regulate competing uses of public forums, government may impose a permit requirement on those wishing to hold a march, parade, or rally if, inter alia, the permit scheme does not delegate overly broad licensing discretion to a government official through Friedman versus Maryland, and it's not based on key content of the message. In the United States versus Grace, which by the way listed public places such as streets, sidewalks, parks, historically associated with free exercise of expressive activities, are consistent without more to be public forums, and in such places the government may enforce reasonable time, place, and manner regulations, but additional restrictions such as an absolute prohibition of a particular type of expression will be upheld only if narrowly drawn to accomplish a compelling governmental interest. And there's a lot of case law on what a compelling governmental interest is. So the government may impose what has become known as TPM restrictions. That's time, place, and manner. And there's abundance of cases which describes time, place, and manner restrictions. The second item in this particular case is the facts. The court found that an examination of the county's implementation and authoritative constructions of the ordinance demonstrates the absence of the constitutionality required, narrowly drawn, reasonable, and definite standards based on Modco versus Maryland to guide the administrator's hand when he sets a permit fee. Interesting in that case, a contention that the park was designated as a sanctuary for peace and quiet was no justification when its use for patriotic celebrations by fraternal organizations was permitted. But in the Forsyth case, the decision of how much to charge for police protection or administrative time, or even whether to charge at all, is left to the unbridled discretion of the administrator, who is not required to rely on objective standards or provide an explanation for his decision. The third item that they found, out of 4, the ordinance is unconstitutionally content-based because it requires the administrator, in order to assess accurately the cost of the security for the parade participants, must examine the content of the message conveyed, estimate the public response to that content, and judge the number of police necessary to meet that response. Fourth, neither the $1,000 cap or the permit fee, nor even some lower nominal cap, could save the ordinance. Murdoch, Pennsylvania, distinguished the level of the fee is irrelevant to the context because no limit on the fee size can remedy the ordinance's constitutional infirmities. so the court held that the ordinance was facially invalid. Out of an item out there, quote, "A government regulation that allows arbitrary application is inherently inconsistent with a valid time, place, and manner regulation because such discretion has the potential for becoming a means of suppressing a particular point of view." These are two aspects that reflect on our policy both as it exists and its application. First of all, there is the way both we as a council and the village manager have applied and may modify this policy that may violate free speech constitutional rights. First of all, the village manager has arguably too much discretion in the enforcement and assessment of fees, having to do with both the calculation of procedures and determining fees. In one case, no fee was sought, charges, or event reported on when the Senator Mayor Sandak announced his candidacy at the Village Hall. This is only one example of discretion used, and it's indifferent in the final outcome. Reasonable people could disagree. The other authority is the application of the events policy is the arbitrary application to the waiving of fees to some and not to others. The intent to have agreement may be likened to intent to permits or fee waivers to some groups and not others. There is no policy regarding who or who cannot get an agreement as exhibited by who has had an agreement with fees waived and those with agreements who have asked for and been denied fee waivers. Real problem presented by our policy and Commissioner Barnett's crafting of option 2 has to do with content-based versus content-neutral policy. Source U.S. Legal, Inc. has a good commentary on the question. For example, if a city requires that all groups obtain a permit to hold a parade, the restriction is more likely, at least on its face, to be content-neutral. However, if the city, through official or unofficial action, only issues permits to certain groups and restricts issuing permits to other groups, the restriction in its application is content-based, not content-neutral. If the restriction is content-based, courts scrutinize the restriction under a heightened standard compared with restrictions that are content-neutral. When courts apply this heightened scrutiny, they are more likely to find First Amendment violations. So a motion to amend the Community Events Commission recommendation regarding the facilitation model as presented here tonight says exempt celebratory, ceremonial, and non-fundraising events operated by federally chartered or accredited veterans organizations from fees for village services in support of those events. The motion as crafted can easily be found to be content-based. The comments and those of others at the last meeting clearly show the intention to be content-based. We are not only limiting free speech preference to a particular group like this body likes, namely the Legion, but we also are restricting freedom of speech to its content of the message, namely celebratory and ceremonial, which appears to be a clear violation because it's content-based. For example, the Scouts couldn't have a Memorial Day parade unless they paid. The Legion couldn't organize a parade to protest some governmental action unless they paid. As pertains to fundraising events, isn't an event operated by a nonprofit on behalf of a business to boost sales a form of fundraising? The Downers Grove Ministerium used to have an ecumenical sunrise service and pass the hat. Proceeds went to the crop walk. Is that fundraising? Speaking of which, the crop walk is a walk for hunger and people are encouraged to contribute, with the fundraising preceding the event. The event itself does not raise money since it even allows people to participate without contributing. After all, their motto is we walk because they walk. So the option 2 that we have before us clearly requires content-based decision-making, and the only and best option, I believe, is option 3, which will allow us to waive the fees for the parade as planned. It also should suspend the policy and not only have the Events Commission review it, but also have an impartial legal counsel who is familiar with these issues participate. Might I suggest approaching the Citizens Advisory Center? Realize this is lengthy, but I hope I got my point across. And it's not my point. It comes from the Supreme Court. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other questions or comments on this item? I appreciate the explanation. the extensive support for the explanation. I candidly think that this is an imperfect solution. I said that before, not to suggest that the one I proposed was the perfect solution, but it was rendered moot by the fact that the petitioner no longer wished to pursue it, so it didn't matter what I thought. This is the proposal that's on the table, and it was stated unanimously. One thing we all agree on is that no one wants to charge the American Legion a fee for the Memorial Day observance parade. I have not heard anyone suggest that we should do that. Not a single person. That said, that is the outcome we wish to achieve. Again, I think amending the ordinance is an imperfect solution, but it's the one before us, and it will get the job done, so I can live with it. If the suggestion, Commissioner, is that this is somehow a constitutional violation, I mentioned mootness a moment ago. There's also a couple of other concepts. One's called ripeness, and the other one is called standing, neither of which are coming into play right now because you're talking about a hypothetical situation. As far as I know, no one is being prevented from conducting a parade. No one has applied to conduct a parade that has been denied. No one is challenging the ordinance, nor would they have standing to do so as we discuss it right now. Now, what might happen if this amendment goes through and circumstances arise, the mind can wander. We can think of all kinds of things. None of them are currently before us. I think it's an interesting question. You may even get me interested enough to read some of these cases again. I haven't read some of them since law school. But most of those cases arise from a situation where someone is being prevented from engaging in First Amendment activity, and that's just not what's going on here. Whether or not the policy as amended could potentially cause that situation to exist down the road, I don't know. But that's not before us. But your comments and your concerns are duly noted, but just for the record, I don't see this as somehow a constitutional violation if we were to pass this amendment. It may create an imperfect situation that needs to be revised and tweaked down the road. I didn't actually hear a whole lot of objection to that necessarily happening at some point in time anyway. But this is, I think, designed to primarily deal with the issue at hand, which is we all would like to support and encourage the celebration of the ultimate, the observance of the ultimate sacrifice made by the men and women of our armed forces on Memorial Day. And we're fortunate enough to have an organization in town that undertakes it upon themselves to do that on behalf of the community, and as a village, we would like to support that. I think that is the one thing that everybody is universally aligned on. So I understand your points. I will give them further thought. I don't see this as the end of the discussion. I see this as a matter that's before us right now to deal with the more immediate issue that I think we're all agreed upon. So for that reason, I will support this. Please.
If I may respond.
Absolutely.
I have raised questions regarding the constitutionality. I don't think it's appropriate to sit around and wait and see if it gets challenged. I don't think that's the proper way to go, especially when we do
kind of have to.
When we do have an option that is equally can resolve the situation, give the Legion the opportunity to have the Memorial Day parade, waive the fees, just as we all want to do. But at the same time, what we can do is what was presented as option 3 last week, which was to, what would be the word, remand the policy back to the Events Commission for a thorough understanding and also a review of potential legal pitfalls so that we don't have to sit around and wait to offend somebody else, so that we go again and try and appease some other group by granting them a waiver and keep doing so until we finally decide that we wind up in some sort of court situation. I think the proper thing to do would be to provide the waiver and remand the policy and have it reviewed and come back with something that is acceptable to all of us and is in line with free speech. As I say, there are numerous examples we charge for, and there's a lot of pitfalls in this policy. It should be remanded and reviewed anyway. Thank you.
I may agree with you about it being remanded and reviewed, but that's an item for another time. But 2 things. Number 1, as I understand it, that without an amendment, we can't waive the fee. I mean, does the current policy have, I was just trying to pull it up here while I was listening, does the current policy have a fee waiver provision?
It does not. When the model was approved by the council the model supersedes the fee waiver policy, and so there's no...
So there has to be
mechanism
some
waive it.
amendment in order to waive the fee. That's the reason why we're doing this. Otherwise, you're going to end up charging the Legion. And I think it's impractical to think this is going to get worked through in the way anyone would like to have worked through in time for it to be done so that the Legion can plan appropriately for Memorial Day. It is, after all, past mid-April.
We can set aside the policy or waive the policy.
Well, then you're
Temporarily.
asking to wipe out the entire policy. Or suspend it, or a moratorium or something like that.
A moratorium would work?
That actually opens up a whole bunch more issues. Again, I understand your points, Commissioner. I think there's actually, the suggestion behind it that there's more to look at down the road is, in my opinion, a valid one. But I think this is an immediate solution to an identified problem. I don't see it as any kind of illegal or constitutional violation because all the cases that you've described deal with someone who's objecting to the fact that their speech is being limited. No one's speech is being limited here. No assembly, no speech, nothing. So it cannot be a constitutional violation. What you've outlined instead is a potential situation that, given a potential application to a hypothetical and not yet existent situation, might be argued to constitute one, but there's nothing of that nature that's currently before us. That's where I take issue with your analysis. In fact, I mean, no one's being denied anything. So I don't know how there can be any infringement of any First Amendment rights. But anyway, the reason why we need to make the amendment is so we can actually waive the fee. Right now, we can't. Unless we suspend the policy, and that's not something, at least I'm prepared to do right here, shooting from the hip. I don't think that would be responsible. But I understand your points.
I just find it difficult to believe that a village council or anybody would intentionally pass something that has potential constitutional problems just because nobody's come before us and sued.
Well, no. It's more than that. There's no one has been denied anything. So there's no standing. There's no ripeness. There's all sorts of constitutional doctrines that don't apply. And I don't want to get into a legal debate with you because while that would be fascinating, I think people would like to move along our agenda and talk about some other
We can
things.
see your real skills. There has been instances in the past where we haven't appropriately employed our policy. We've ignored it on the steps of our village hall with an announcement. We've had one group come before us and ask for a waiver, and we gave it to them, and then we had the YMCA come before us with essentially the same type of events, and they were denied. Are we going to sit around and wait for somebody to, I don't know, I just don't understand the logic there. I think you try and do things right the first time.
I'd love to go revisit the policy. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. But there's something called Memorial Day that happens on a date certain, and people need to plan for it, and we kind of need to take care of that. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
All right, tune in next week, and we will be discussing...
We won't.
The Second Amendment.
No, let's not.
Any other questions or comments from the council? And may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Commissioner Newstead?
Aye.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Nay.
Commissioner Schnell?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye, matter passes 6-1. Good, robust divergence of views tonight on the active agenda. Well, that ends our active agenda. That brings us to item 8 on our agenda, which is our first reading, or what we sometimes call our workshop section of the meeting. These are items that are being presented for discussion purposes only, and they will be voted on, if at all, at a later point in time. It is customary to turn the meeting over at this point in time to our village manager, who will then direct it from there.
Correct.
Manager Fieldman.
There are 4 items on tonight's first reading agenda. The first item is an ordinance regarding a planned development for the further expansion and investment of Midwestern University. And here to present background information on this item is our planning manager, Jeff O'Brien.
Thank you, Dave. Mayor, Village Council, it's nice to be in front of you this evening. We are going to be talking about Midwestern University. and their proposed planned development and new auditorium and classroom building. So this is going to go on their 31st Street campus, which is about a quarter-mile east of Highland Avenue. The big black arrow is pointing at just about the right spot, too. There's an aerial view of the campus, and the proposed building that we're going to be talking about is going in the yellow box there. If you can see the aerial photograph, there is a building in the photograph. That's Prebu Hall. That building has been demolished, and that site is now vacant. Little background about this property. It's been used as a college and university since 1965. The property is currently zoned R1 single family with a special use for the university. And starting in 1991, there's been a series of major investments and improvements in the campus. We've handled this property through special use amendments, and tonight we're going to take a new approach to them. So first, what they're proposing to do is to construct the new auditorium. That's the basis of this request. That's the red building here in the yellow circle. That would be an auditorium and classroom building. But I'll first go back and talk about why we're doing a planned development for this property. The village staff recommended to Midwestern University in 2010 that we designate a planned development instead of continuing with the special use process that we'd been going through with them. The planned development process works a little bit better for a property like Midwestern University that has multiple buildings, diverse uses, and is really a unique user given its size and scale. The benefits for Midwestern University and the community to using the planned development approach is we provide predictable development parameters for future building on the campus, and we also provide flexible standards for Midwestern to respond faster to their needs as a growing university and business in the village. Some detail about the planned development. There are 5 major components. They are governed by the master site plan, which is this document right here. As I said, there are 5 major things on this master site plan. There's the building envelopes that you can kind of slightly see here. You can see it better on the in the printouts, but the outlines of the buildings. These are all existing buildings on campus except for the auditorium building right here. It defines setbacks for those buildings. There are 3 levels of setback. There's a transportation setback, which is the furthest outside dotted line. That's a 10-foot setback. A setback that is 40 feet for buildings that are 30 feet or less in height, and a 200-foot setback for buildings that are over 35 feet in height. Those setbacks are advantageous compared to our current zoning ordinance. This is an example of what a building would look like, where buildings could be placed under our current zoning ordinance. This would represent a 35-foot building at 10 feet from the property line, and this would be the 100-foot building at 160 feet from the property line. Under the planned development, those setbacks would increase to 40 feet for the 35-foot tall building and 200 feet for the 100-foot tall building. So just an example there. The third major component is building height. We set a maximum building height for the campus, regardless of setback. That building height would be 100 feet. Currently, the tallest building on campus is the Basic Science Building, which is 93 feet tall. The fourth major component are the permanent open spaces. And I'll go back a slide. The permanent open spaces are the green areas. So we have the large wetland in the northeast portion of the site, the quadrangle and the academic core, and then the conservation easement adjacent to Lyman Woods on the west. The fifth major component of the plan development is defining what major and minor developments are, and that's what gives us our flexibility. Major developments require coming in front of the Plan Commission and Village Council for approval. Minor developments are developments that can be approved administratively through building permits. Okay, so that's enough of the administrative talk for the campus. Let's talk about the exciting improvement that Midwestern is making to their campus. They are proposing to construct a new auditorium and classroom building. This is the site plan, so right here we have the parking garage and the auditorium building. I forgot what I was talking about for a second. This building is going to contain a 2,500-seat auditorium and an office and classroom building that contains 114,000 square feet. So this is a view of the building looking from the northwest, and then a view looking from the southeast. The building would be 33 feet tall for the auditorium portion, and it would be 66 feet tall at the far eastern office and classroom part of the building. The building is set back over 193 feet from the west property line. The taller portion is set back actually 329 feet from the west property line, and the nearest residence is over 300 feet from the proposed building. Just walk you through the campus here a little bit. We mocked up the campus. Again, the red building is the auditorium building. This will just kind of fly us around the campus. This is represents the current level of development, including the recently expanded parking garage and the western property line, and how the auditorium will fit in with the overall campus. This is the basic science building right here.
Can I interrupt you?
Sure.
How do we get all these fancy visuals? I mean, I just wrote a note down, but you just set precedent. I mean,
This is free software.
Wow.
And
you haven't done a presentation to us in a long time, and you're doing a heck of a job. Jeez.
Thanks.
So this is in-house stuff we already had?
Yeah, this is actually pretty easy to do. This is done with Google SketchUp and our aerial photography. Google SketchUp is free software that you can
Keep doing it.
download
These
off
are
the...
interesting now.
Yeah. It took
Wait to see the one that they're working with James Cameron on. Soundtrack and all kinds of CGI. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we could have added the soundtrack to it. I didn't want to, get too carried away. But really, free software and a little bit of staff time, and we have the plans in house, so it's actually pretty easy to do. Just a discussion about how this fits in with our comprehensive plan. The property is indicated as institutional and public. Midwestern University is the educational facility which is included in that institutional and public designation. This proposed development is consistent with the comprehensive plan designation and the goals of the comprehensive plan. Just to kind of give the council a view into looking from the nearest residences, which is on Rosewood Place. This is looking from what would be basically a second story. Again, we have our red building as the auditorium. And this is looking at eye levels of 6 feet off of the ground. So you can see the red building here peeking up over the house. As far as traffic impacts go, the traffic is currently moving to and from campus at acceptable levels of service, so there's minimal delays at the intersection currently. It's operating safe. There's no major changes to the intersection, even with the growth in the traffic on 31st Street and with the growth of the traffic from the campus. There's really only one movement from this particular campus to the roadway that's difficult to make now, and that's the left turning movement from the campus to westbound 31st Street. As you might expect, left turning movement's pretty difficult. The signal warrants are met here, so Midwestern University is working with DuPage County and the village to design an intersection and install a signal. So that is coming, which should improve delays and safety at the intersection, although there's not really any concerns now. All major utilities are in place. Stormwater is going to go under the basic science building. There's existing capacity in the stormwater basin there. And we took this in front of the Plan Commission on March 26th. We gave the Park District and the Forest Preserve District an opportunity to comment before it went to Plan Commission. Neither one of them had any objections to the proposed development. The Forest Preserve District, I believe, provided a letter which should have been included in your packet tonight. We had one resident speak at the Plan Commission meeting. They were generally in favor of the planned development and the auditorium building. And the Plan Commission reviewed it, and they had some questions but they generally found that the request met the standard for plan developments, and they recommended unanimous approval of the development. And I'm available to answer any questions that the council might have.
Well, thank you for that jaw-dropping presentation. Are there any questions or comments from any members of the audience with respect to this item? Questions or comments from the Village Council? Commissioner Neustadt.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, having a master site plan for the university is obviously proving to be very helpful here. I think anytime when you can look at your facilities, your land usage, and then come up with a plan for the future, that's a benefit for not only Midwestern, but for other entities as well. I know there's some representatives from Midwestern here today. I do have a quick question about some of the information we had about the auditorium. In the information, it says that the auditorium is allowed to be used by community groups. I was hoping Dr. Geppinger could tell us a little bit how they utilize that at the Glendale University site.
I'd be happy to, Commissioner. My name is Kathleen Geppinger, and I'm the President and CEO of Midwestern University, and I have served in that capacity for the last 17 years, and I've come before you many, many times. And again, I'm honored to be here tonight, and I think your question was a very appropriate one, because the community and our campus will have a facility that actually can seat 2,500 for events. Now, the reason this auditorium and classroom building is so important to the university is we have events on campus a number of times in the course of a year that we need that kind of capacity, namely a graduation. Today, when we do a graduation, we use our Little John Hall, and then I have to have remote viewing by video in all the other auditoriums so the family members can at least come to campus, but they're not going to be in the same room as their graduate, their loved one. We also do a white coat ceremony every year where every first-year student has to come together. Parents are invited, loved ones are invited, and we have to have a place to put that. We've actually had to go off campus in order to hold that event. So this is a really important facility for the university. But to answer your question about community involvement, there are a number of restrictions that we always have to follow. Because we, as an organization, have bond covenants, we can never have a paid facility because we're a not-for-profit university. We can't sell tickets to an event. We can hold events if the facility is available, especially for evening events. We can hold it with people being able to do a free will offering when they come and leave. But we can't sell anything. We couldn't, let's say, rent it out to have a bank make a presentation and sell tickets to hear a financial planner, because that would not be under the covenants we have. However, for a special event on the campus, we are more than willing to have an event. In fact, this past Sunday, we had anywhere from 200 to 300 people come and hear a concert on campus that was for the entire community, as well as the community of Midwestern University. And so we certainly are always open. We want to reach into the community. We want to be helpful. We want to be your best neighbor. And so anything we can do within the bond covenants, we will certainly do.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments from the council? Commissioner Schnell.
Actually, a couple of comments to you, and then I have a couple of questions to Jeff. One, I want to applaud you for going the plan development route. I think it's something that will help streamline and improve the process as we move forward. I also want to applaud you for trying to get the traffic signal out there, because it is, I think it's will be very beneficial not only to your students, but to the people who go back and forth on 31st Street, because it can get a little dicey there at times, especially as you said, turning left, and I think it will only add to the improvement of traffic flow along 31st Street. So I want to just say thank you for obviously pursuing that with the county and the village. So I think that's great. Jeff, I do have a couple of questions for you about actually the master site plan that's up there. Excuse me. It's my understanding, and I've seen different kinds of site plans over my years on the Planning Commission and up here. It's my understanding that not only do you have the definition of setbacks and all that, but the building or the pads that are on there now, so there are buildings that actually exist on those pads right now. If one of those buildings were to be torn down, something could then be put up on that pad as long as it met the conditions of the planned development, correct?
That's correct.
If the university wanted to put another building within the space that do not have pads on it right now. They would have to go through the planning commission and then before the council
That's
for
correct.
approval. So that's kind of, people who might look at the site plan now would know that where there are pads or buildings now, those buildings could be, not grandfathered, but they could be improved upon as long as they met the conditions of the plan development itself,
Absolutely.
without going through all the review process and
Right.
and all of those things. But it is conceivable that other buildings could be put on as long as they met the setback requirements.
Yes.
Okay. The other thing is, Commissioner, Mayor Tully and I, when we were at National League of Cities, did visit the Glendale campus, and we did see their auditorium, and it is an extremely impressive building.
Although finals were going on.
I was going to say, but we were there during finals, so we got to see kids strewn out, stressed like you wouldn't believe. Shh, don't breathe, don't do this, don't do that. But we did peek in and see one of the petitions. It is a huge improvement for the campus, and I understand that having taught in lecture halls way back when, they're necessary, obviously, to a university setting, but it's also nice to be able to divide them, which you can do with this, too. So it brings a lot of flexibility to the campus, but I also think it brings some flexibility to the community, perhaps for some of our not-for-profits who may want to partner with the university. So I think it's a win-win situation for everybody. I think the plan development just improves the process and really allows people to understand what presently exists there and what could presently, or what could be put there in the future. So I think it will only help the process as we go forward. So thanks. And great presentation.
Thanks.
Much more interesting than some.
I know, the bar's pretty high now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Next time it's in
Staff
color.
members.
Yeah.
Commissioner Durkin.
You know, I just wanted to point out that this is not only, this isn't their only construction project that they're moving forward with in Downers Grove. They're the ones that are responsible for that tower crane that we all see on the I-88 355 intersection. And you know, I just want to continue to thank you for your commitment to our community, not only through being a great partner with our village and all the other organizations that make up our village, but your constant reinvestment into your campus here. So I really appreciate that, and the way you had opened up your arms for our mayor and Commissioner Schnell when they went down to Arizona, and I'm sure that offer would be open to all of us if we ever want to venture out of a nice warm Chicago winter here. But you know, I have no problems with this. I think this is a great addition to not only your campus, but if there's a way that we could partner with our nonprofits, as you so willingly have said you would. So thank you.
Well, Commissioner, I would like to just reiterate, you are all welcome to see the other campus. And as we move forward on our clinic building, and you can come and see the other clinics there that are going to be mirroring this one, I'm sure that you'd enjoy the trip. So our doors are always welcome.
Will Dean give out the private tours?
Oh, I think Dr. Debelair and I might.
Thank you.
The problem, though, is if you go, Commissioner, there's a permit fee.
Okay.
Chanel and I is waived.
I'm constitutional.
I was always going to make a comment myself along those lines. It's nice to find some place that maybe we can go free.
Exactly.
Except the village will have the police in the front collecting.
Other comments, questions from members of the council?
It's been a long time.
Well, it's always a pleasure to see, I'm sorry, Commissioner.
No, I was just going to say it's nice to see something on the agenda tonight that I can really be excited and for.
Thank you very much.
I was going to say, from my own standpoint, it's always a pleasure to see you, Dr. Geppinger. Every time you're here, it reflects another investment in our community, an investment in your campus. And as Midwestern University thrives, so does Downers Grove. So it is a very mutually beneficial partnership that we very much appreciate.
Again, ask for comments from the audience again.
Oh, yes, sure. Back to the project at hand, though. The project looks terrific, and obviously it's going to be a very handsome addition to the campus. It'll be a very handsome addition to a very important treasure within our community. So we're always very pleased to see when you're expanding, and I think we work very well together. And having witnessed what it will look like, not only the dental clinic, which I had a chance to see down in Glendale when we were down there for National League of Cities, but also the auditorium, I know these are going to be outstanding additions. So we wish you much success with them, and thank you for working so well with us. obviously will continue to do so. We're very anxious to look towards the dedication or the completion ceremonies, probably as anxious as you are. I think the planned development path is a smart way to go, but of course we have a very smart planning department, so that only makes perfect sense. I may have overlooked some public comment, I'm told, on this matter, so if there's any public comment with respect to this item, I will go back and undo for a moment because I wouldn't want to violate anyone's First Amendment or even the Seventh Amendment. Dr. Goodman, if you can tell me what the Seventh Amendment pertains to, I'll give you a village pin.
Well, I didn't come prepared for that.
I'll give you a pass and I'm going to ask
laptop
Ms. Suter because she's got
and
time to
comment
think about
on
it.
that in the later session of the, maybe on the manager, or the mayor's report. But at any rate, I'm Gordon Goodman. I live at 5834 Middaw, and I did want to congratulate the university on its successes and say we very much appreciated them hosting the Downers Grove Concert Association last Sunday. It was a very successful undertaking, and I hope other community organizations can follow that precedent with Midwestern University. But the main reason I'm rising is to talk about the concept of the planned unit development. I really do think that's a very important step forward that the planning department and the university have brought to you. My question is there something, some sort of narrative that goes with the diagrams that we've been looking at? In particular, one of the points that was made in President Geppinger's letter to the Plan Commission and the discussion at the Plan Commission was this very important concept that the university has used in developing its campus of a core emphasis, that all the buildings focus on a core. It makes it very good for the students to reach their various classrooms and other facilities such as the library. And I think that that has been a basic concept that's been very strongly used to develop the successful university we have now. And I was hoping that that core focus concept was going to be embodied in the planned unit development that's approved. And I don't know whether that is something that supplements the maps. The maps are expected to indicate that, but I do think it's something that you might want to consider making explicit as you consider this plan and develop and adopt it next week. So that was the idea I wanted to bring before you. I think the building and the particulars for the next phase of development are perfectly in sympathy with this core focus concept that has been so important up to now. I'd like to see that mentioned as one of the components in the planned unit development concept that you're approving. And if that were to change, then that would be something that the Plan Commission and you would want to review. But it has been a key to the successful development of Midwestern University's campus up to now, and I'd like to see it mentioned and ratified in the planned unit development. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Village Council. My name is Damian Suter, and I live at 605 Prairie Avenue. And I'm coming before you this evening as both a resident of Downers Grove as well as an employee of Midwestern University. And I am in completely support. I'm completely in support of this important project on our campus. As an employee, I work with the Dean's Office in the College of Pharmacy, where, among many other things that we do, we dole out tickets for our graduation each spring. On our campus, we are limited in space for the ceremony. And in earning a doctoral degree in pharmacy, our students have just gone through 4 years of a very tough curriculum. And they want to fully share this achievement with their family and friends and in earning their doctorate degree. And it's heartbreaking when they cannot fully allow their family and friends to participate in this, when their family and friends have to view everything remotely. That's tough. I think we've all been through graduations and want everybody there. So it's been tough to not be able to give out all the tickets that we'd really like to. Second, is another significant event for our incoming students that we cannot hold on our campus, as Dr. Geppinger mentioned, our annual White Coat ceremony. When our students are given their official Midwestern University white coats to wear proudly on their clinical rotations, and at the ceremony they also take the oath to administer the highest levels of patient care possible. This annual event is for our roughly 750 first-year students, and it takes place at the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center up in Rosemont because it's the only venue that can accommodate this unique event. Most of our students invite their families to come and share in this great occasion, and it's important to understand that roughly 40% of our students come from out of state. So many family members are flying in or driving in from great distances to visit Rosemont. That's hotel nights, that's dinners out, that's other tourism expenditures. And across 750 students for this one occasion, there's the potential for roughly 300 families to need a nearby hotel stay.
I see Mr. Casa behind you getting visibly interested and excited about this.
As a resident of Downers Grove, I'd much rather have those dollars spent closer to home here in our community. But again, the Stevens Convention Center is the only venue that can accommodate us at this time until this terrific auditorium is built. So in summary, as both an employee of Midwestern University and as a resident of Downers Grove, I strongly support this project and hope that you will too. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a point not to be underestimated. Of course, the other thing I just want to mention, because Commissioner Rankin wanted to know about it, is that there's another activity that's held on the campus every year. I think, the 23rd annual Groove It in the Grove race is coming up on May 12th, Commissioner?
Okay, I'll sign up.
Mr. Casa, good evening again.
Good evening. I just wanted to mention that I recently saw a survey in a national economic development publication identified the top 10 economic development assets that a community can have to really make itself attractive to business. We have 9 of those 10. One of them we're missing is we don't have an airport here. One of the 10.
Mr. Fieldman?
I'm working on it.
Okay. One of the 10 was, does your community have a university? And I'm not going to do it at this time, but at some point in the future, I'd like to discuss the economic impact of Midwestern to this community. I think it doesn't get said enough, the importance that they bring to our local economy. It's more than bricks and mortar, it's more than creation of jobs. It's just what they bring to the community and how they are one of our top economic generators. And they encourage their employees to become active in the community. Dr. Geppinger serves on the board of directors of the Economic Development Corporation. Dean Malone of their staff recently served as chairman of the board of the Chamber of Commerce. And as we all know, from flipping pancakes and making sausage and serving them, Damien every year puts together a tremendous event called Helping Girls Navigate Adolescence. And there's so many more examples of the important role that this university plays in our community. And I am proud they're here, and I'm sure you are too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Casa. Any other questions or comments from the audience that I inadvertently overlooked last time? We'll bring it back up to the council. Any other questions or comments from the council with respect to this matter? I think another rave review is what I'm hearing. Thank you, as always, for being here. It's always a pleasure to see you and your team.
The next item on the first reading agenda is consideration of an intergovernmental boundary agreement with the Village of Lisle, and I cannot wait to see what kind of visuals Jeff has for us as he walks us through this boundary agreement. Jeff.
I don't think you can make Lisle look anywhere near it.
He's got satellite.
I should have taken a page out of Leonard Skinner's book, Never Play Freebird First.
Play pretty for Atlanta.
Sorry for the Southern Rock humor. Lyle boundary agreement. The Village of Downers Grove and the Village of Lyle have a boundary agreement that's been in place since 1992. Many of you may know that agreements under the state statutes can only run 20 years between municipalities. So this is year number 20. The agreement just expired. There was an agreement that was...
Does it mean we currently have no boundary with Lyle?
Right. No agreement over where the boundary should be.
I'm feeling exposed.
Well, the yellow line on the screen should make you feel less exposed,
Okay,
Mr. Mayor.
Is there an annexation opportunity? Sorry, seriously, please continue.
The yellow line on the screen represents the proposed new boundary line, and we'll go over what's changed here in a little bit. Generally, west of the boundary line, which is generally west of I-355, would be under the Village of Lyle's jurisdiction, and east of the boundary line would be under the Village of Downers Grove's jurisdiction. A couple of key points. As I said, it updates the 92 agreement. There's two significant modifications to the agreement and the boundaries between the two villages. The first of all, the former agreement was a center line agreement. The new agreement will be removed from the center lines of I-355 and Walnut Avenue. This is to address some annexations that occurred between the two villages that's in line with the state statute that says we have to annex to the far side of the right-of-way. So what happened is when each individual municipality annexed property, the rights-of-way got annexed into different villages, so we end up with a checkerboard pattern of development. Something like this. This is currently Walnut Avenue. I'll blow up the checkered area there. The yellow hatched areas are currently in the Village of Lyle. The blue area, which is in the middle and as you're going north of the cul-de-sac there, those are in the Village of Downers Grove. So we have portions of the Walnut Avenue right-of-way that's maintained by the Village of Downers Grove, and the other portion that's maintained by the Village of Lyle. So the split right now is the Village of Downers Grove maintains about 1,200 feet of the right-of-way. Lyle also maintains about 1,200 feet of the right-of-way. So it's split among half and half. So what we would do is, this agreement proposes to do is to take these portions of Walnut Avenue, disconnect them from the Village of Lyle, and annex them to the Village of Downers Grove, so the Village of Downers Grove would be maintaining Walnut Avenue in its entirety from Ogden Avenue to the Burlington Northern Railroad tracks. The other second major change here is the Village of Downers Grove would be disconnecting portions of the Interstate 355 right-of-way, shown in the yellow hatches here, south of the railroad tracks and north of Maple Avenue. You can see Lyle is currently maintaining this portion right here. I'll blow that up just so I can show you. There is one parcel that's owned, that is a privately owned parcel, that would remain in the Downers Grove jurisdictional area, so that would not be transferred to Lyle. It'd just be the right-of-way. There's just some odd ins and outs of the right-of-way just because of where the detention basins are for 355. Again, we were doing this to be consistent with the Illinois annexation law, which requires that any time we annex property that we go to the far side of the right-of-way. So to be consistent, we're also disconnecting to the far side of the right-of-way. So if this agreement is moved forward by the Village Council, there will be ordinances following up to annex and disconnect these portions of the right-of-way. And I'm happy to answer any questions that Council has.
Terrific, thank you. And that was about as well as you can animate that topic, so kudos on that. Any questions or comments from any members of the audience with respect to the proposed boundary agreement with the Village of Lyle? Good evening again.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council staff. I was wondering, is this the entire interface between Lyle and Downers Grove, or are there other portions of the interface that aren't covered by this boundary agreement?
These are the entire portions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from members of the audience?
I'm
Mr.
having
Cassidy?
fun at this. Let me just say that when I took this job, you presented me with so many opportunities in this town, but a few challenges. The piece on the corner of Walnut and Ogden is one of them. It's an important piece, but it comes with a lot of challenges. This agreement takes away one of those issues. Having the Village of Downers Grove control Walnut is going to make it a little bit easier to develop this piece of property.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this item from members of the audience? Questions or comments from the Village Council? Commissioner Barnett.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have, is there any effect on emergency services relative to 355 as a result of the change?
No, there's no impact on emergency service responses. Those are controlled by different operating agreements throughout the region.
Okay. That's the only question I have. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you, Commissioner Durkin.
That was my question.
Also a good question. Any questions or comments from the council?
Was that your question, too? Yeah, look at that.
Oh, three good questions.
Oh, yeah.
Great minds think alike.
The next item on tonight's first reading agenda is an ordinance amending certain parking provisions in the downtown business district. Specifically, this would place 15-minute parking spaces throughout the downtown as recommended by our downtown parking study. This was reviewed by Transportation and Parking Commission and Downtown Management. And Director Newland is here if you have any questions about this item.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from any members of the audience? There's a three-time rule.
Linda Coonsey had to leave tonight, but she wanted me to say that the Downtown Management Corporation Board of Directors does support this proposal before you.
Thank you for passing along. We'll cut you some slack this time since you were her proxy.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from any members of the audience with respect to this item? Questions or comments from the council with respect to downtown parking? We like to have downtown parking. We like to have it full of shoppers.
It is definitely that. And finally,
next item, please.
The last item is an award of a contract to Denler Incorporated of Mokina, Illinois for the 2012 Preventative Seal and Parking Lot Improvement Project in the amount of $298,539.74. This is part of our extensive roadway maintenance program, and Director Newland is here if you have any questions on this item.
Always a pleasure to see you, Nan. Any questions or comments from any members of the audience? Questions or comments from members of the council? I think you've managed to 2 items and not have to say a word. Thank you for being here.
Embarrassed myself, my poor graphics.
And that ends our first reading tonight.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Fieldman. That brings us to item 9, which is the mayor's report. I have one item to report out, as I always do, at least one item as I always do, and that is a continuing follow-up on our progress in terms of working with Commonwealth Edison to sustain and maintain and enhance, if at all possible, the reliability of electrical service in the Village of Downers Grove. As everyone may recall, this all began with the horrible storms of last summer. We're in that season again. I shuddered when I received my first ComEd alert to municipal leaders and identifying the fact that they were opening up the emergency response center and were giving website information and telephone numbers to contact for down power lines. That was earlier this week, and I knew that it was the start of the season. But again, everyone remember we had some pretty severe weather last summer that resulted in some very extensive outages, and the village held a town hall meeting in September of last year with senior executives from ComEd, and we have continued to work with them to make sure that Downers Grove is a focus in terms of electricity service reliability. So this week's update is as follows. ComEd has indicated that the equipment upgrade project consisting of the replacement of 4,400 feet of cable in the circuit serving the area near 63rd Street and Main Street is scheduled to begin this month and is scheduled to be completed next month, May 2012. This project is part of the infrastructure upgrades provided under the Smart Grid Bill. I know Commissioner Rankin is going to mention something about smart grid information later tonight under her report out. Additionally, ComEd is now capable of providing outage restoration updates via text message. So if you signed up for that service, you can get information about that as well as communicate outage information to ComEd, because the two-way text messaging allows customers to text their outage to ComEd and enables ComEd to text restoration information back to the customers. That would in fact be the way a two-way communication would work. ComEd customers can sign up for this program at the ComEd website, and a link to that website, so you don't have to look for it, is available directly on the village's website, which of course is www.downers.us. I have to pause here because there was news recently about the protocol that has been introduced by ComEd, and at least what was reported, how it would be beneficial to municipalities. I know that we continue to have some concerns about how it may impact this village. I know at some point in time, Manager Fieldman is planning a presentation from a fine number of our staff as to what the protocol is and what it means for our residents, and more importantly, what they should be expecting from this. And I don't know if we have now that the cat's out of the bag, so to speak, ComEd has put it out there, do we have some indication as to when we might be able to have a presentation on that protocol? Because I think we would be interested in it, and I think our residents could benefit from understanding that information itself.
We will put some information on an upcoming council meeting in May.
That'd be terrific, and I know we're all counting on seeing Allison present that at some point. Terrific, thank you. That's all I had on my report. That brings us to the manager's report.
And as long as Commissioner Durkin mentions the coffee with the council this weekend under his report, then I have no report tonight.
With that caveat, we will move to the attorney's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two items to present this evening. The first is an ordinance amending certain parking provisions in the downtown business district, and the second is an ordinance amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance to designate the south side of 31st Street, approximately 1,281 feet west of Myers Road, as planned development number 51, and authorizing an auditorium and an office building.
Thank you. Of course, there's a third one you've forgotten, and that is you're supposed to tell us what the 7th Amendment to the Constitution pertains
Right, by
to.
trial by jury.
There you go. Thank you very much.
She gets a pen.
I'll take it right off my lapel here. That brings us to item 12, councilmember reports and new business. Let's start with Commissioner Newstadt tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. The Village of Downers Grove will be using propertyroom.com to sell our surplus items. There's a great list of unclaimed property that will be available after April 23rd on our webpage, which is downers.us. You can get more information by calling Village Hall at 434-5637. Looks like a lot of bikes, a cement duck, baseball cards, and a red scooter. So if you're looking for any of those items, they're right here for your purchase.
Terrific. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Rankin.
I would just like to announce the League of Women Voters will be hosting a presentation called Smart Grid 101 at Fire Station 2 this Thursday at 7:30 p.m. They will have representatives from ComEd, Phil Matejek, who's a member of our Plan Commission but is also an electrical engineer, and Stacy Solomon, who is a Leicester school mom that I know, and she's also an environmental activist. They will be presenting giving a presentation and answering questions. So I'm going to try and make it sounds like it's going to be very interesting.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Commissioner Waldeck.
I have nothing.
Commissioner Barnett.
I have nothing, Mayor.
Commissioner Durkin.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually have several items, and I'm going to give ourselves a very big commercial here. So first and foremost, if anyone has any interest in any of the items I'm going to mention, they are listed in the manager's report of April 13th. We do have an upcoming coffee with council on the 21st at the Oak Trace Senior Living Community, which is right off of Fairview Avenue, just south of 63rd Street, at 200 Village Drive. The coffee will start at 9 a.m. and go until 10 a.m. I also want to highlight that it's not a normal practice for our Village Finance Administrative Committee to be meeting in the evening, but we will be meeting on Monday, May 7th. We'll be meeting at 6:30 p.m. in the committee room to discuss council travel and training policy. If there's anyone that's interested in that, it is an administrative finance meeting on May 7th, Monday night at 6:30, and the full council, to my knowledge, will be in attendance. And the other item I wanted to point out is that following the Tuesday night council meeting on May 8th, we will have the next series of our long-range financial planning, which is something that we've always talked about, and we highly encourage and really want the public input at these meetings. So please, if you have time to come. And last item I wanted to point out, because I think it's definitely one that people should visit, residents and non-residents should plan on attending, and that's the Barth ceremony, which will be taking place Monday, May 14th at 1 o'clock at Barth Pond, followed in that evening by the Police Department Accommodations Award Ceremony, 7 o'clock here in Village Hall. So I know I have a lot of information, but It's good information, and highly encourage you to please go to our website and/or the village manager's report out for additional information. And we all up here ask and encourage you to please find time to come before us and give us your thoughts and ideas. And with that, that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Commissioner Schnell.
I just want to commend Commissioner Newstadt for bringing the attention, the auction for the unclaimed items. However, he did miss one very important item on the list, which I really want to highlight because it probably will bring the most money of any of the auction items. And it's under other items, number 1, a cement duct. And
I said
think,
that one.
Huh?
I said
Oh,
that
did you?
one. I
Oh, well,
did.
I say,
He didn't say.
oh, well, no, he said the
You
word
didn't
scooter.
mention the cement duck on the red scooter. That's a rare find.
That's right. But I want to know if the cement duct is a dressed duck or just a plain cement duct. I think that's extremely
phone number,
important for the
LCA.
auction process. So it's a highlight. It's the first time I've ever seen that on the auction item list.
Do the baseball cards come with
A
guns?
cement duck.
I think we have some graphics on that, which,
I really could probably have them flying over the room.
Jeff will have that duck doing a nosedive.
Yeah,
and-
yeah, interesting.
thank you, Commissioner. And,
Anytime.
yes, I just want to echo Commissioner Durkin's comments about the Coffee with the Council that's coming up this Saturday. That'll be a very nice first-time location for Coffee with the Council, and we're glad to have that hosted by our good friends at Oak Trace. I mentioned that this Saturday after the Coffee with the Council, you can also go over to Family Shelter Services here in Downers Grove at 7300 Old Main Street. I don't want to call it Old Main Street, how about Classic Main Street? 7300 Old Main Street here in Downers Grove, where, as I mentioned earlier in the meeting, Comcast Cares Day 2012 will be held from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. So if folks can make it over there after Coffee with the Council, that'd be terrific. On Comcast Cares Day, Comcast, NBC, Television, and Telemundo employees, their families, and friends will work alongside Family Shelter Service volunteers to rake, mulch, plant flowers, install sod, and provide an overall outdoor spring cleaning for an outstanding organization here in Downers Grove. But of course, in order to make sure that you are ready for Coffee with the Council and that you've got sufficient vitality to help out at Comcast Cares Days, you want to make sure that on Friday night, this Friday, coming up on April 20th from 6:30 till 9:30 p.m., our very own Walk-In Ministry of Hope, which is located here in Downers Grove and also provides outstanding service to those with immediate needs here in our community, is sponsoring or hosting one of their annual fundraisers. It will be held, because of facility, in a nearby community some of you may have heard of, Hinsdale, at 415 West 8th Street in Hinsdale. That's the community house in Hinsdale. And there will be wine and food pairings from a number of outstanding Downers Grove restaurants, such as Cakes by Kathleen, Capri Italian Ristorante, and Scarletti's Italian Kitchen, to name a few. There will be a jazz music, and tickets are available. In fact, oh, looky here, I just happen to have some in my hand if anyone's interested. There's still time to get information, and if you'd like to get some information or purchase tickets or just show up and support a good organization here in Downers Grove, the website is www.wimoh.org. Of course, stands for Walk-In Ministry of Hope. And that's all I have, except for one thing that I must always conclude meetings with, and that is there are, in fact, only 64 days left until the Rotary Grove Fest here in Downers Grove. And with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Schnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Commissioner Newstadt?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye. Thank you. We are adjourned. Good night.